The initial experimentation in the upper atmosphere, in the ionosphere, took place somewhere in the 50s, probably began in World War II and right after World War II. The first records that we have of it, excuse me, are things like Project Argus, where atomic bombs, early atomic bombs, were detonated in or near the ionosphere, and this caused many type of behavior modifying traits on the ground, noticeable public behavior changes, and many other things, weather changes, alteration of jet streams, things like that. The one big thing that Project Argus and other detonated atomics in the upper atmosphere caused was an augmentation of things like the Van Allen belt, things that made it difficult to fly aircraft, or spacecraft I should say, through without damaging electronics or without damaging living things. It caused the trajectory needed to escape the Earth's atmosphere with anything alive on board to be altered radically and be much less efficient than optimum. This is just some of the irresponsible things that Nazi interests have done using our military, and of course Nazis being the people who were brought over here after World War II and given positions of power and respect in the aerospace industry and medicine and things like that. The same people that were filmed, freezing people to death in experiments in the prison camps, or many other types of mind control. These same people perceived fundamental Christianity, say down around the Bible Belt all the way out to Texas, as a ready-made form of mind control, a platform ready to be used and boosted to their way of doing things. And it has worked well. It has worked well. You have a lot of these people in America that literally worship lords and kings, when in fact America was created to do away with lords and kings. Royalty is not welcome here. Back to the space program and what has been going on. It's been used as mind control. All these experiments that have been done were just pretty much ways to squander the public tax dollar, ways to make people think that progress was actually being made, when in fact it was steering people away from the truth that there's a lot of evidence on this planet and in outer space that things are not as they seem. Things have been better before. I mean, you just need to not even visit the pyramids, but look at diagrams of the interior of the pyramids, understand a little bit about scalar forces, just solar system wide, things like that. Understand that we have a position around the sun that used to be maintained and is no longer maintained, and that the moon is nothing like it seems to be, and it could actually disintegrate and come apart, because when that moon rises and it's really, really big on the horizon, then it goes way, way out to the top of its orbit, and it's a little tiny little orb, and then comes back down again, and it's real big right before it sets. That means that the orbit is perturbed beyond belief, and that it has super strong forces on it at certain times, causing stresses and experiments with the gravity of the moon and things like that have at least shown even the layman, even people who aren't privy to what is probable as far as the moon is concerned, that these gravity experiments showed the moon's makeup is nothing like you would think a solid orb would be, and that's because it's not solid. It's pretty much hollow. And because its orbit is perturbed beyond belief, and because it has not been maintained, and because we've been doing all kinds of weird experiments since the 60s, the Soviets, their scalar experiments probably can be observed and probably will be observed in the future, because the dates match up pretty well to the occurrence of increased solar activity, solar flares. You don't get anything for nothing here in this universe. It's actually a multiverse. And so if they're going to be dealing with powers on a planetary scale, what makes them think that it's not going to affect the other planets within the overall field? But these people are just relearning a lot of stuff, and they have access to the Vatican Library, where a lot of people have done studying and resurrected some of the dregs of what we once had, what we once knew. That's what the Catholic Church does, basically, is preserve and go around and have its people go and dig up things that need to be preserved until hopefully the day will come where someone will be born and be able to understand them again. A lot of the bombs that were used over in the Middle East during the Gulf Wars, the Bush Wars, were actually excavators. I have reports of several top secret, or at least secret, missions that were adjunct to so-called military missions, supposed military missions, but these were actually archaeological military missions, where they were digging up caches of technology that come from a time before, come from a time when we were really something. These lines in the sky, one of the things that they can do is focus vast amounts of energy on selected spots of the Earth for many different reasons, and one of those reasons is imaging, Earth penetrating tomography. It can sense with a high degree of accuracy and make pictures, make images, very good images of things that are as deep as a half mile to even a mile below the surface. I'm told that they can even hear sounds and things like that, but that's beside the point. They're looking for these orderly caverns and things like they found under the Sphinx, which the CIA got to, the so-called Temple of Records, the Hall of Records, and that was real. The CIA got to it, and that just whetted their appetite. That told them where to go looking more. A lot of the things you see that the British found around the pyramids in the 20s have been buried and covered up and used by royalty and the Vatican and other people who are privy to what we once were. Now, when they do all these imaging below the surface, just think about if you were between the satellite or the field propagator and what it was after, it's going to go right through you. And that's why we're seeing a lot of physical deformation. That's why there's genocide happening and no one's really understanding what's going on. It's because they can't, and they won't. And they'll be dead before they even get a chance to even think about it.